So, how much does it cost to live this lifestyle? Lots of people are interested, and lots of people don't quite believe me when I tell them that it's cheaper than my life back in the United States. And I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. It's just like I was concerned about this in the beginning too. I thought I had to save up so much money before I left. I thought things had to be just like all together and that travel was expensive. And here's the thing, travel can be expensive. I would say, yeah, the most expensive things that I pay for, lump sum, are my flights. But I also, because I have the freedom of this lifestyle, I tend to pick times when flights are cheaper. And I'm very flexible. So, with the exception of like a friend getting married in the Philippines a couple years ago, like, okay, I had to be there on a certain date. But there's lots of flexibility and lots of room to just kind of go with it. But flights, we're going to take those and put that off to the side and focus on kind of the other day to day stuff. And I have taken notes because I tend to ramble, I think, so I want to stay a little bit more focused in this video. One of the things that I did before leaving the US was I spent a year in a different city just to prove to myself that I could do that, that this lifestyle was okay, like working remotely would be good. So I moved to Las Vegas and spent a year there working remotely, kind of building up some confidence in my freelancing work with my clients and paying down my debt. I had loads of debt, just like the life in the United States. I just can't even imagine going back to it. But I had loads of debt. I had student loan debt. I had a car that was upside down. I had credit card debt. I just it was like $30,000 in debt, so I paid that down. And then I kind of have built up that confidence of living in a new city and, feeling like, okay, the freelancing is stable. This is going to work. So then I moved abroad, and I don't think I had a set amount saved. I never felt like I had to have a certain amount. I just felt like, okay, I'm earning this much, so I need to keep my spending within that, right? Um, and since I've been doing this, I would say that rent is the largest monthly cost. I think just like it is in the States, usually your mortgage or whatever. And that can vary wildly depending on what country you want to live in. I have the cheapest place I've ever lived was $500 a month. And the most expensive place I lived was around $2,500 a month. So there's a huge range. And yeah, of course, you can go higher, you can go lower. I have a friend here in Ecuador, where I'm living at the moment, who he's got a full house. Like it's not a studio, it's a full house. It's a 2 bedroom plus a loft house for $300 a month. So there's truly just such a wide range. And I remember when he moved in, I just remember being stunned. I was like, I don't, to me, a $300 house in the States is like a shed. Like, I don't know anyone who lives for something that cheap. I'm sure there are places that I just don't know about, but I was so used to just housing costing a lot and then you getting very little for what you've paid. So, yeah, in other countries, I've just been able to live a much different lifestyle. Me personally, I tend to spend around 1,000 to 1,200 a month, just kind of depending on where I am in the world. One of the things that I like to do is have a separate bank account that is my rent account and just put a set amount into it each month so that it is constantly growing. So I might be putting $1,000 into it a month. And even, for several months, I'm living on 500, but that money is still, the extra's still in there and it's growing so that sometime I can treat myself and live in a place that's 2,500. Um, and the quality will vary, the types of houses will vary. I am not I'm not someone who quite enjoys rustic. I wouldn't say that. I like nice things. I like modern. I like some charm though. I don't like it to be just like stark modern. But my big thing, I guess I wouldn't even say I like nice things. I like nice experiences. So for me, because even though I travel the world, I'm very much a homebody. I like to spend time at home, no matter where that home is around the world. And so I like for my space to be good and feel good. So we're talking clean, we're talking natural light, we're talking a great view. Um, The most expensive place I ever stayed was in Kotor, Montenegro, right on the bay, overlooking the water and the mountains. And let's be honest, I was paying for the view. It was not a $2,500 apartment. It was a $2,500 view. And I was very happy there. I was very happy there. The apartment was beautiful, but it wasn't spectacular. It was just a great place with a spectacular view. So I tend to do that. I will shell out money for the views because I grew up, I don't know, in Ohio, in the suburbs, and like, why would I not? If I could take advantage of a view, I'm going to pay for that. Aside from the house, well, actually, there's another thing to talk about with the house. Because I live in Airbnbs, it is a thing of convenience. Everything is all lumped in together. So the light, the gas, the water, the trash, the Wi-Fi, all in one bill. And for someone like me who is neurodivergent and I find life admin to be just one of the dullest things that exists. I hate dealing with it. I forget about it. I don't want to deal with it. Like stuff just like kind of backs up until I deal with it and then it's usually a problem. It's great. I just pay my rent on time. And if you're on Airbnb, it's just like you've booked it and so they will just take the payments whenever according to it's great. It's great. Just like kind of all done for you. So that is the biggest cost and something I obviously have to think about each month. But like I said, if I'm in the $1,000 to $1,200 range, that's very doable for most people who are living in the States at the moment because grant chances are your mortgage or your rent is probably around 1,000 to 1,200 USD. So, and again, you can just figure out what you've got. Figure out your expenses. If you've got $800, then start looking for places around the world where you can live for $800, and there are plenty. But aside from, I was thinking about this in making this video. I'm like, what are my costs that I have to pay month to month? And there really aren't many. It's the rent, and then there's my phone bill, which again varies wildly depending on what countries I'm in. Here in Ecuador, I'm paying about $10 a month for I think 6 or 7 gigs of data. Absolutely plenty because I'm home a lot and I use my Wi-Fi when I'm home. Um, Other than my phone, I do pay travel insurance, which is about $95 a month. Um, because it used to be about $40 a month, but I turned 40, and so they just doubled my cost, which I think is rude because I think I'm in quite good health. Um, but yeah, whatever. It's a whole other the punishment for getting old. Anyway, I pay that every month recurring. And then everything else from that is just going to depend on you and what you like to do, right? Do you have subscriptions like Netflix? Do you have subscriptions like Spotify? Do you have um I actually don't know what other stuff normal people have. But your subscriptions, all that stuff that you pay in the States, you can keep that stuff, you can pay for that stuff, you can cancel all that stuff. It's just about figuring out what you want to pay for subscription wise and whatnot. But other than that, getting around food. Um Getting around and food, 2 separate things, but food, again, varies wildly. Do you cook at home or do you like to go out? Um, I it depends. It depends on where I am. If I'm somewhere where I love the food and the cuisine is great and it's relatively cheap, then I eat out a lot. Sometimes I get in stages where I'm cooking a lot. But again, I would just say cheaper than the US, most places. Um, and actually, that's not true. Cheaper than the US, many places. It depends. South America, I think hands down across the board is a lot of times going to be cheaper. If you are in Europe, costs are higher and it depends on the currencies, right? So it depends on how the US dollar is doing against the euro, how it's doing against the pound. Um, Transportation, I in the States, I had a car payment that was I think $300 a month and we're going back like 10 years now. $300 a month. Insurance would have been another $100 a month. Gas would have been another $150 a month. So we're talking 550 USD just for my car. Um, I don't spend that in transportation. I don't think there has ever been a month anywhere including England, where I took the train a lot, I don't think I ever spent $500 a month. Not unless I was going on trips, but just to get around in daily life, no. And again, it's just much cheaper. Here in Ecuador, I can go to the city. Quito's about 25 minutes away for $8. And I remember last time I was in the States and took an Uber, I think it was $37 for, I don't know, 15 miles, something like that. It was ridiculous. Um, yeah, food, transportation, rent, those are your main costs. I think if you're trying to figure out what this lifestyle would cost for you, I think sitting down and going through your bank statement and looking at everything you pay for would be good. And then figuring out whether you would still be paying for that if you moved. So, are you keeping Netflix? Okay, then that goes in the list of you're still paying that when you move. If you're canceling it, well, then you wouldn't have that anymore, right? So figure out what you spend currently. And then figure out, I would say, the big costs. You're probably paying for a car and you're probably paying for your house where you live. So let's say you're paying 1,500 a month where you live and you'd like to live on 750. I mean, Airbnb is a great research tool. Put in a month. So let's say, March 1st to March 31st. And you can use the filters to bring it down to the price that you're interested in. And then you can just scroll and move all over the world and see what that gets you in different places. And I'd highly recommend it because when it's out here abstract, kind of, I could never live for that amount somewhere else in the world. It's hard to picture. But then when you actually go and start doing the research and you look for places and you find places and places that look really nice and places that have good reviews and other people stay there, and it's just like, oh, okay. This isn't just a crazy dream. This is something that could actually happen. I could actually do this. It's really helpful to do that research. Um, that being said, once you find your budget, there are places that are going to be out of reach, for the most part. I love England. England's real estate leaves a lot to be desired in my price range or in what I want to spend. I'm not spending 2,500 pounds, like US $3,500 or something like that. I don't know, 3,200. I'm not spending that much to live in somebody's dank dark basement. Okay, and the Airbnbs in England. A friend of mine and I, we have a little. They're pretty bad. They're pretty. Like I said, I like nice things. I like nice experiences, and I like to have a view. And I don't. If I have $3,500 to spend, I'm gonna go to somewhere with a spectacular view and not somebody's dang dark basement. Uh, but anyway, so England, I kind of I have a few connections in England that I go through them if I want to stay for a while. Um, or I just don't go to England. I don't stay long. It's it's a beautiful place. I love England, but the prices that they charge for what you get. Go on Airbnb. Just go on Airbnb and have a look. It's fun. It's interesting. But anyway, that aside, I will say that one of the other things that you do want to consider is when you are going to places. And luckily, with this lifestyle is a lot of freedom so that you can move as you kind of you can avoid the tourist seasons or the high seasons in places. The time that I was living in Qatar was from January to April. Yeah. So I got out right before tourist season, which was nice because prices go up, traffic goes up, congestion, everything that literally my friend and I, we would go to the restaurants and pay off-season pricing. And then toward the end of March, as early April started, the cruise ships started arriving in the bay. And from one day to the next, you go back to the same restaurant and everything is, you know, €4 more expensive or whatever. So there's the ability to go places and enjoy that off-season pricing. and then go back and um, just get out. Just get out when the tourists go. And then there's other places that I don't notice it as much. So I've come to Ecuador now all year round, and Ecuador is, I think, has quite a tourist season, like year round. There's not a big surge in, oh, everybody comes this time of year and everybody leaves this time of year. The weather here is great. Um, there's people here all year round. Prices tend to stay the same. There's not a massive hike for a tourist season. So there's places like that to escape to as well. The summertime is going to be more expensive, I'd say, anywhere in the world because people are going on vacation and kids are out of school, just everything goes up. So as you go on, you'll be able to figure out where to spend time and when, and then kind of when to leave and go somewhere else. But overall, I would just say, just start to do some research. Just start to do some playing around on the internet and looking and dreaming because you're going to find very quickly that whatever you're paying in the States, you can pay, I would say, half of that and have just a much higher quality of life.